Hey everyone, welcome to another video. This video is gonna be all about the Catrice Fall in Colors limited edition collection. I went into one of the drugstores here in the Netherlands a few days ago and all of a sudden they had this, and I wasn't planning on buying everything from this collection, and I bought two things in the end, but I was so impressed with what I saw in store that I grabbed more than I was eventually planning to. So I have the eyeshadow palette and I also grabbed the face palette. So yeah, I can't wait to try these out with you guys and tell you what I think. Let's get into it. So I kind of changed my whole filming setup, the whole filming situation. So I kind of have to get used to it, kind of have to see how it works, if I like the lighting, the angle, everything. So bear with me if you have any tips, if there's anything you do like, don't like, you can let me know. But that is a side note. And we're getting into another side note. As you might know, I'm doing a low buy. I am only purchasing makeup for a certain amount and I can only buy two of one type of makeup product. So the fact that I decided to buy these actually says a lot. But when I was in the store and I swatched these, I was so impressed. I was like, I cannot leave these here. Well, I could, of course I could, but I didn't want to skip over these. I just got really excited, so I decided to pick these two things up. There's also a brush, which I didn't get because I don't think it was that interesting. I'm kind of fixing the way my camera is set up as I go, but I was just really impressed and I can't wait to show you why. I can't wait to show you what is up with this collection. I can give you a little hint before we go into the close-ups and swatches. This palette, these shimmers, they did something extra special with these, something that we haven't seen before from Catrice, but you will find it out very soon. Let's get into some close-ups, some swatches, and some comparisons. So, hi everyone! For this part of the video, I actually was thinking I wanted to try something a little bit different. Usually I show you some close-ups and swatches while I'm chatting, like as a b-roll, but I wanted to give you a look at this a little bit more up close. I'm gonna zoom you in a little so you can really see what is going on. I just wanted to do the swatches and show you the packaging a little bit more closely, and I wanted to really dive in a little bit more. Usually I kind of like skip past it with the b-roll, and I think this is also a fun thing to do. So first up we have the Catrice Fall in Colors Baked Bronzing and Highlighting Palette. We have a sticker with info on the back. It is a palette with 3 highlighters and a bronzer. The packaging is all covered in like this sweat kind of material. It's kind of like orange but a bit toned down, a little bit grungy, and then we have all these golden lines which really make me think of like The Great Gatsby or something like that, Roaring 20s, a little bit of those vibes. I think it looks very beautiful, very cool. This packaging just makes it look a lot more luxurious, and it doesn't make it look as much as a palette, as a face palette from a drugstore brand. It actually looks really cool. It looks like it could have been from Anastasia or something like that. I feel like maybe they were inspired by that a little bit, but yeah, I really love how this looks. Alright, so my cart was full. Let's try this again. I had to take a little break to fix that. Now let's open this one up. Inside we have kind of, in a way, a basic, kind of predictable Catrice face palette. I say basic, but I mean, we have seen this before from Catrice. It is not really surprising. They really have their specific way of doing their face palettes. They usually have this type of kind of like thicker packaging, and then inside we have these baked face products. That is also why I have a feeling that this is going to be pretty nice. These highlighters especially look really good, but it feels like they are really like kind of stuck on these face palettes. I will bring out the ones that I have in a second, and we can also like do some comparisons, see if they are similar. By the way, we have a mirror in here, and inside we also have kind of like the orange, burnt orange cardboard packaging. And then we are gonna take the plastic off. So we have 4 highlighters. One is a little bit more peachy, one is more pink, cool tone, one is more lilac purple, and we have the bronzer. So it's not like a one and done palette. It's not like, okay, I have everything I need here, but it does look really nice. Let's swatch it out. By the way, these shades don't have names. I'm first gonna swatch the more pinky one. The more lilac-y one is next. These feel very creamy, very like smooth. Like they put a lot of cream in there. Like they are really, really creamy. I hope you can kind of see this. I don't feel like they have an extreme difference in color, especially these two. This one is definitely a little bit more peachy. This one is more cool tone. I think these are going to be really nice, by the way. But they are all a little bit like on the lighter side for sure. Now the light is a little bit down so you can see a little bit better. They look very smooth, not sparkly or anything. They feel much juicier and much creamier than I'm used to from a lot of baked products. A lot of baked products are not as creamy. So I think this is also going to be working very nicely if you have a little bit of a dry skin. So now let's swatch the bronzer. This one has a pretty neutral undertone. I think it leans a little bit warm, but I think it will work on me. So that looks really nice. I really like the look of this palette so far. So I'm gonna grab the ones that I have and let's see how similar they seem. Alright, so I think these are all the Catrice face palettes that I have. This Bronzer Way 2 is very similar in packaging. It's very like the same thickness. It has the same kind of design. It is very much a copy of this one. So if you think this one is too bulky or anything like that, this one, the Fall Colors one, is gonna be as bulky. So let me just open this one up. Looking at it, I feel like it's gonna be quite different, but maybe the highlighters could be similar. The bronzes in here definitely are very different. This one is deeper and it's more red in undertone, and this one is really shiny. It has really golden, strong golden glow to it, so that definitely isn't different. So let's see. These highlighters are not the same texture actually. I was thinking that they would be, but they are not, because the ones in the new Fall in Colors face palette, they are more of a creamy texture. They feel so creamy to the touch. These are a little bit more traditionally baked highlighters. So let me see. I am just gonna swatch them over here. So here we have the two shades. And I do have to say that this cool tone one is quite similar in look in shade in the undertone to the lilac-y one from the Fall in Colors palette. And this one is kind of like a mix between the two other like peachy gold shades from the Fall in Colors palette. So I don't feel like there is an amazing like crazy difference between these highlighters. Probably you don't need this if you have the Bronzer Way 2 palette, but the formulas aren't exactly the same. I can definitely see that these are a bit more powdery. They lay on top of the skin a little bit more. These are a little bit more creamy and they just have a different type of glow to them. I think maybe they are also going to be a little bit more shiny on the cheeks. So we're gonna test it out on the face in a bit. I'm gonna do the demo, but the shades are similar. So if it's just the shades, they are gonna be the same, those two highlighters, but it's not gonna be like an exact copy of the formula. So that's interesting. At least I don't have like exact dupes. Then we have the Catrice cheek palette from their recent limited edition, Tropic Exotic, I believe it was called. So this bronzer, once again, is very different from the bronzer in the Fall in Colors. This one has a golden sheen and it is also a bit warmer. Now seeing these side by side, I can say that this one is quite cool toned, looks quite cool toned in comparison to this one. So let's swatch these highlighters. Once again, I really like these highlighters in this palette. These are really nice, very glowy, very shiny. I do feel like they are going for the same types of highlighters for sure, like a warm toned goldy one and more of a cool toned pinky one. So I'm just gonna swatch them next to this. So this one and this one, those are the ones from the Tropic Exotic collection, the ones on the outside of the bottom 4. And yeah, I can see that it's not the exact same formula, but the shades are very, very similar. These are gonna look the same on the skin. I feel like the Tropic Exotic and Bronze Weight 2 are more similar to each other than they are to the Fall in Colors. I hope you can kind of see that. I hope it is kind of visible, but these two are both cool toned. One is a little bit more shiny and thin, one is a little bit more thick and powdery, and then we have two kind of peachy gold that look very similar, and we can find that in the Fall in Colors as well. And then the last face palette that I have from Catrice is the Catrice Caviar Gouge I wanted to say eyeshadow palette, the Caviar Gouge face palette, and if my camera can show you what it looks like, this is a little bit more compact in packaging. I really like that about this one. I don't know if it's still available though. So in here we have a bronzer that actually looks pretty close to the bronzer in the Fall in Colors palette. So I'm just gonna swatch them over here. And I feel like they're pretty similar in color, but we have, this one is a little bit deeper, I think, and a little bit more warm neutral. The other one looks a little bit more red, but I think they would be pretty comparable applying them to the actual face. So this one is from Fall in Colors, this one is from the Caviar Gouge. It's a little bit more red, a little bit less pigmented, but yeah, pretty comparable. Now I can really see the highlighters a lot better. They are not like exact dupes, but very similar vibes. You don't need them all for sure. That is what I'm thinking. They are always going for kind of like this cool tone shade and this warm tone peachy shade, and yeah, you can see very similar. So this one is from the Fall in Colors palette. This one and this one are from the Tropic Exotic, and these two are from the Bronze Weight 2. Okay, we have one more thing to swatch, and that is the highlighter from this palette. And I think this one is really creamy. It feels the most creamy, but still not as creamy as this one. So here once again we have a very similar vibe. It is not the exact same shade. The one from Caviar Gouge seems a little bit lighter. But yeah, you would get a similar effect, I think. Let me see. I can swatch it here. I'm totally covered in swatches. So I hope you can kind of tell. It would give the same effect on the cheeks probably. I haven't of course applied them both to my cheeks and really compared it like that, but swatching it like this, very, very similar. I hope this can kind of help you make up your mind when it comes to these face palettes, because we have seen so many face palettes by Catrice and they all look so pretty, they all look so cute, they all have a very nice packaging. I feel like you don't need them all. Of course, this one also has the blushes in there. We have some, they're mixing it up with some blushes, with some different bronzers, but the highlighters, they keep them in the same ballpark. So be aware of that. I thought it was interesting to kind of show you how these compared. Alright then, I'm gonna close the face palette and let's move on to the eyeshadow palette. So the eyeshadow palette is more of a burgundy a vibe, a beautiful burgundy packaging, also suede, also the sticker on the back. This one is just called the Fall in Colors eyeshadow palette, And yeah, I think this one looks so beautiful. This one is 15 euros. So it is a little bit more expensive, but you are also getting the more luxurious packaging. And then on the inside, we have a very fall appropriate color story. We have some purples. We have some interesting shades actually here. It looks more interesting even now that I open it here than it did in the store. So we have some purples, we have this kind of like burnt orange shade. This shade looks really interesting, kind of like a night blue, navy blue, but it has a purple like dusky undertone to it. I feel like you can do some interesting looks with this. Also, it doesn't have that many like dusty shades. Sometimes Catrice kind of fills up the eyeshadow palette with shades that are a bit dusty and redundant in my opinion, but I don't feel like we have that here. Maybe that these two look a little bit similar. They look a little bit similar, but for the rest I feel like we have a lot of nice options here, so I can't wait to play with it. Let's take off the plastic. Looking at it like this, I actually feel like this is one of the most beautiful eyeshadow palettes I've seen by Catrice. Looking in the viewfinder, I feel like it looks a little bit brighter in the viewfinder than it does when I look at it here. Just the orange just looks a little bit brighter, but for the rest it is very like true to color. I don't know why it picks up the orange like this, but yeah, it looks gorgeous to me. Let's do some swatches. Alright, let's start with this kind of pastel, light, dusty, lilac-y pink. I'm just gonna build that up a little bit. It's not like crazy pigmented, but it definitely shows up. You definitely can see. Then we have this kind of maroon shimmer, which looks pretty cool. I don't believe that these shades have names, so I'll just tell you where I'm at, but that looks quite nice. Not like super shiny, it's a little bit on the satiny side, but it does have some sparkle throughout it, which is cool. Then this kind of like sandy beige shade, more of a neutral. For the neutral lovers, it's a little bit like warm in undertone. Swatches quite well. And then next up we have this kind of chocolatey brown, but a little bit warmer. Like it has a bit of a bronzy vibe to it. That looks really cool. Very nice and shiny, a nice amount of pigment. I think this could look quite nice and sparkly on the eyes. It's a little bit more shiny than the burgundy one. Then we have a chocolatey brown matte. Doesn't swatch crazy pigmented, but I feel like it's gonna be buildable. So far I'm pretty impressed. And then next up we have a beige, like a bone colored matte. Not something that I'm usually interested in, but this one is quite pigmented. Let's move on to this kind of dusty mid-tone purple, quite cool toned. That swatches very nicely. Then this kind of like the same shade shimmer, like, ooh, look at that. Look at that. That looks so gorgeous. Okay, so dusty purple, very high shine, very shimmery. Wow, that is like the most shiny shade I've seen by Catrice. Can you see? Can you tell? That is absolutely stunning. That is so shiny. Wow. And it also looks kind of like multicolored in the shimmer. It kind of has those cool tone purple, but also silvery and kind of like warmer purple reflex in it. So nice. Okay, that really blew me away. I know what I'm gonna be wearing on my eyes. Okay, then we have kind of like a taupe that is gonna be a nice neutral. That swatches nicely as well. And then the burnt orange. I think this is a nice addition to this palette. Wow, that swatched very well. That is very bright. It looks bright on camera, but it really also looks bright in the swatch. Very beautiful. Then we have this kind of like grayish gunmetal, very high shine as well shimmer. The sun is kind of like, has kind of like gone away, but now you can really see, hopefully, the shimmer. Can you focus, please? camera. I want to show people how this looks. Hello. It is just very high shine, very silvery, but it has a purple base to it. This one is very cool. Like, I love that. So nice. So high shine. Just look at that. This is such a cool palette already. I really hope this is not gonna disappoint when I actually apply it. Then we have this. It's a kind of taupey shimmer, but it definitely has a slight purple undertone, but a little bit more warm. This is more of a flaky shade. It has some flaky shimmer in there. I hope the camera can kind of pick up on that, but yeah, very flaky. Very shiny as well. That is a gorgeous shade as well. We have some beautiful shimmer options. I can't wait to try them. So interesting. Alright, so I'm kind of debating what I should do. Should I take this off and do the rest on this arm, or should I try it over here? But I'm not really good, I think, at swatching like this. Should I try it? Then you can see everything together though. Okay, I'll try it. So next up we have more of a cool toned, kind of smoky purple shimmer. Forgive me if it doesn't really work out. Okay, that is a nice one. Not as high shine as the other ones, but still nice and shiny. A cool shade. Then we have this more rich, still smoky purple, but a little bit more rich, a little bit more plum. Okay, I really want to try out how that one looks on the eye, because I feel like it has a lot of pigment. It doesn't swatch like super smooth, but it's a dark purple. What do you expect? So I really want to see how this blends on the eye. Then I'm gonna take this kind of basic beige shimmer shade. I think this will be nice for the inner corner, but it's nothing like super special. Nothing that blows my mind. And then we have this kind of chocolatey brown shimmer, but it also has some green tinge to it, which I think is gonna be a very interesting mix in with the shades. Yeah, it's definitely with sort of like, it's kind of brown, but also kind of green, and it has kind of like a darker base. And you can build it up and then it looks more shiny. I hope you can kind of see that on camera, but as I look at it now, it looks quite nice and shiny. And then we have another kind of plum shade, but this one is a little bit more gray in undertone, a little bit more toned down than the other one. I don't know if these are going to be like similar enough on the eye, but it's definitely a little bit lighter and brighter, so that could make up for it. And then for the last shade, I am gonna swatch this very dusty, very dark kind of navy purple, which is such a cool shade to have in this palette, because this is going to be so easy to deepen up any look with. So here we have all the shades together, all the shades in this palette. I think it's a really interesting color story because it's neutral, but there aren't actually many neutrals in here. Some warm tones, you have some cool tones, you have some green vibes. It's really like a beautiful fall palette, and these topper shades are next level. I think the fact that some of these other shimmers are a little bit softer is totally not going to be a problem, because they are still pigmented, and then you can dab a little bit of those shimmers on top and you think it's still going to look amazing. So I'm really impressed with these swatches, and I can't wait to actually try out this palette. So yeah, let's get into the demo. So you're a little bit closer so you can see what I am doing. Let's see. I think I really want to try and start this look out with this dusty purple over here, and I want to start building up the crease with that. I actually washed my brushes yesterday. I usually am very ill prepared with these types of reviews. I always forget to wash my brushes, but I washed them yesterday, so pretty proud of myself. Let's start by applying this in the crease. I have tried some eyeshadow palettes by Catrice that I've really loved, and then some that kind of disappointed me, so let's see how I feel about this. Okay, this already looks really nice. This blends really nice. It's pigmented. It already looks really good, and Didn't take a lot of effort. This is very promising. And then I want to go into this burgundy shade over here. And I want to take a little bit of a smaller brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of a pointed crease brush. I feel like my mirror is kind of like reflecting the light weird, but I need my mirror to see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go into that burgundy shade, and I totally forgot to do my other eye. I don't know what is going on with me. I haven't filmed in like 2 or 3 weeks at this point, so I'm a little rusty. Alright, that is looking very nice. I am going back in with the first brush and blend the edges. Love that. Now let's go into that first shade. I'm gonna quickly do the other eye. Alright, so I'm onto the burgundy on this side, and this is actually going very well. It's building up and it's looking pretty like deep, and it's not looking blotchy or anything. That is really cool. It's kind of making me think of the melt cheese in parties, just the way this is looking. The undertones of these shades. I had not expected that, but it does look like it could be a drugstore dupe of that, but then even better. I love that so far. Now we're gonna go into the deepest shade. I think this is such a cool shade. I really want to try it out. I'm just gonna take that on the same crease brush, and let's see if we can like add some depth with that. I love it when palettes have these types of kind of versatile deepening up shades that are not a black, because I get why people love blacks and I get how they use them, but on me it just is too harsh right away. But this gives me that effect. It gives me the depth, but it's not too harsh. Okay, I love this shade as well. Wow. I don't know what they did with this palette, but just the swatches looked really nice. The packaging is really nice, and then it all blends like a dream. Like an absolute freaking dream. So I'm gonna blend the edges a little bit. By the way, I did apply an eye primer before I started filming. Sometimes I forget to say that, but I always do that before. This is so cool. I'm so happy with this. Okay, what are we gonna do? There are so many options, but you know I want to try the really shiny shades. I kind of want to try the sort of bronzy brown shade, but a little bit more towards the like outer and middle with my finger. That's working. That's pretty. It is pigmented. It is definitely a little bit, just a bit on the satiny side, but not in a way that I personally dislike. There are definitely satins that work for me, but I just need the opaqueness, and I just need it to not look like super dull, but I feel like this is working. I do go into the shade a bit with my finger. It's not like a one swipe and go, but once you get it on your finger, it looks really nice. And I want to combine that with this shade. The shade over here. One of the really sparkly, shiny shades that also feels like very soft when you swatch it. It's really like a bit like a topper, but it does have enough pigment to use it on its own like this. I think that's really, really nice. And I'm just gonna tap it over the other shade a little bit. And also I'm gonna take it a little bit higher. I just really want that shimmer like all over. Okay, that looks... I hope you can kind of see what I mean. It is really, really sparkly and reflective. And it's just so nice. It's just really nice. Okay, doing the same over here. I feel if you would use this with the glitter glue or something like that as well, because there is a little bit of fallout and it is quite a chunky shade. I think it would also look very, very nice. Because of this, because of these palettes, I keep trying Catrice, because sometimes they just get it right, and they really get it right. They just make something so incredibly pretty. This is like sultry, it is purple, it is shimmery, but it's not too bright. It's still pretty wearable. It's kind of neutral but very interesting. I love it. For the inner corner, I'm gonna go into the kind of basic beigey champagne shade. Just want to see. Of course, it's not gonna be as interesting as the other shimmers, but it's still nice. It is still like a handy shade to have, but it's not really like a standout in this palette for sure. I'm just gonna put a little bit. I'm just gonna see if it works. I'm gonna put a little bit of this flaky shade in the inner corner on top and see what that does. I feel like that really flaky shade would be the very best with like glitter glue or something like that, wetting it a little bit, but it does stick, it does stay on. Then for the lower lash line, I want to try the orange. I think if I wasn't doing a review, I probably wouldn't try this one out, but I just want to incorporate this one into the look because I think it is a very cool shade and it really adds a pop to the palette. So I just want to put it in the middle here. Okay, that is pigmented. Okay, I'm just gonna put it all over and deepen it up later. Orange isn't really my shade, but kind of like working it into a look can be interesting. I feel like you can make almost any shade work for you if you know how to kind of incorporate it and what to combine it with. Okay, I like that. Now I want to take, let me see, I'm gonna take the brown shade, this one over here. I just want to try as many shades as I can and see how it looks when I deepen up the orange with this brown. And then to kind of mesh everything together, I'm gonna take this shade, the deepest shade, and I'm gonna put that just in the outer part over here, just meshing it all together. Like so. Okay, I'm actually really into this blown out lower lash line. Usually I clean up under my lash line, but I think I'm gonna leave it like this. I think it's gonna be really cool. I just want to add a little bit of the deepest shade back over here. Really want to get that depth. This look, this eyeshadow palette is actually making me so happy. I love how this all looks. Usually with Catrice, there are some dots and there are some things that make me say it's good, but it's good for Catrice, it's good for the price, it's nice if you don't want to spend too much money. But this, just look at this. Just look at the impact, just look at the depth, just look at how everything blended. I think it looks so nice, and this is a look that I haven't done before. It's like interesting, it's new, it's different. I'm really into it. Okay, I'm thinking, should I go into the face palette first or should I do my mascara and brows first? I think I'm gonna go into the face palette first. So you've seen it up close already. We of course don't have a blush, so I'm gonna pull that in from somewhere else, but I'm gonna try this bronzer, and I'm very curious to see if these actually look as creamy on my face as I think they are gonna from the swatches. And I'm really curious how the undertone of this bronzer is gonna look on my face. So I dipped in a few times. It's not extremely pigmented, but definitely pigmented enough. My skin is a little bit more uneven than it usually is right now, and I can really tell on camera. I'm sorry about that. I don't feel like grabbing a concealer right now. I'm just gonna live with it. I'm just gonna accept it. I think that the bronzer is going on top of that pretty nicely. I do have to say that this brush, it works the best if I have not washed it in a little bit, if there's a little bit of product buildup, but the bronzer is still going on nicely. I'm just kind of like putting it kind of all over. I'm not too precise with it. Okay, let's apply some on my forehead. I feel like this is a nice bronzer. I don't know yet if it's like a bronzer that blows my mind, but it is nice. But we'll see how it all comes together once I have applied the other face products. I do have to say I'm completely covered in fallout. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but yeah, could have cleaned that up a little bit. Alright, so that is nice. I don't feel like it's too warm or too cool. Yeah, pretty nice bronzer. I do have to try it out a little bit more to really tell you how I feel, but it's not like a flat matte. It definitely still looks natural, a natural sheen. It's just that I have tried so many bronzers, it's a bit hard for them to really impress me, but I feel like this is a nice one. Definitely one that I want to try more, and that has the finish and the effect and the shade that works for me, that I like. Alright, how am I gonna choose the highlighter shade? I think I'm gonna use this one first, and then I'm gonna try the peachy one as well, and then kind of like mix them in, because I feel like those are the more interesting shades. So let me see, where is my highlighter brush? So as I said, I'm gonna go into the more lilac-y shade, and I'm not going in too much because I feel like, yeah, it's really blinding. I do feel like it has more of a creamy look than the other palettes that I just showed you in the comparison. Definitely has something about it that makes it look, this is without and this is with, that makes it look a little bit creamy. I think that's interesting. I hope you can kind of see with this lighting. Alright, let's take the peachy shade on the other side, and I'm just going in, like tapping in twice, so no more than twice, and then you already get this. Look at that. Okay, this one is really peachy, actually a lot more peachy and bright and kind of like yellowy peachy than I was expecting it to be. That's actually really cool. This is actually a really cool shade. Huh. This makes me think a bit of the Winnie the Pooh Super Shock highlighters by Colourpop. It really has that vibe. Just look at that. That is really nice and shiny and creamy. I think these might be my faves. Even though they chose kind of similar shades, in a way it does look more creamy and more like it is blending into the skin. And this one, this undertone, it really comes out on the cheeks, and it's just like peachy, yellowy peachy. Very cool. Alright, I'm just gonna put a little bit of the peachy one over here and kind of mix it in to make it all go together a little bit better. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of the pink one and put that over there. I think the peach one is my favorite. I don't feel like it's totally the same now. But it's also like super blinding, so can you see that? I hope you can kind of like understand what I mean. Just the creaminess of this, it's really different. Okay, so those were the eyeshadow palette and face palette, like tested out, the demo. Now I'm just gonna do the rest of my makeup, and then I'll be right back with my final thoughts. Alright, so this is the finished look. I actually put on the blush in Bedazzling by Essence, and I also put on one of the new Melting Kiss gloss sticks. This is 020. I'm not entirely sure yet how I feel about that. I was expecting it to be a little bit more like a gloss and a stick. I don't know if I feel like that is that. But let's go over these products. Let's discuss my thoughts, because I have to say I am very impressed, and I think this look is amazing. Looks amazing. Let's get into the eyeshadow palette first. This eyeshadow palette may very well become my new favorite Catrice eyeshadow palette. This quality is actually so nice. The shimmers are amazing. The mattes blended beautifully and they were very pigmented. And I don't feel like we have a bunch of repeat shades here. We actually have an interesting color story, as I told you before. And the orange in there, I feel like it's a pop that really makes sense. And also the greenish shade over here. And I think you can make some really interesting looks, but the quality is also amazing and it just looks so good on my eyes right now. This is a look that I would love to do again, and I don't think that a lot, but this look is just on another level for me. Just the sparkle, the shimmer, the lower lash line, how blown out and smoky it is, and just how smoky in general I could get this look. And also just the packaging looks amazing. It looks very luxurious. I think it's very cool, and it's only 15 euros for this quality. This might very well be my very favorite Catrice eyeshadow palette. I of course have to try it out a little bit more, but there's so much potential here. This is such a nice palette, and Catrice is sometimes a little bit of a tough brand to review because they do have quite a nice eyeshadow formula in a lot of palettes. But if I think about if I would pay 40 euros for it, probably not. Often probably not. But this, I can say, is good. Not good for the price, but really actually good. And I would pay more money for it. Just looking at this quality, looking at this packaging, I think this is like 40 euro palette quality. It just looks amazing. I think it's really beautiful, and I'm so impressed, and I'm happy that they had this in store. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have bought it because I would have thought, oh, that's just what we usually see from Catrice. But it's more than that. It's much more than that. If you see this in store, swatch the sparkly shades, you will be blown away. Blown away. I never tell you that you need something, but this might be like a fall must-have. Then we have the face palette. These highlighters are a very interesting formula. Very wet looking, very creamy, very shiny, but they blend into the skin. I think the highlighters in this are definitely the star of the show. Especially the peachy one really impressed me. It really impressed me in how this undertone looks on the skin, and that is really different from anything I own. Even though I thought it looked kind of similar to other highlighters that I swatched in comparison, I think it's really different. And yeah, the bronzer is really nice. I actually really like the bronzer. Do I think that this is what you should buy the palette for? No. The highlighters, but there are 3 of them, are like the very best. This one is nice. The highlighters, very creamy, very shiny. They look wet on the cheeks. I think they might be the most creamy highlighters that I have found in this baked formula. When you touch them, it's not like they actually feel putty, but there's just something about them that makes them feel a little bit wet, which makes it a very interesting formula. So yeah, I would say definitely check this collection out. It is really good. So far it's really good. It's only a first impression, but I am really excited about this collection and I'm really excited about this look. Okay, that's gonna be everything for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe, and also let me know if you picked up anything from this collection. Are you planning to? And then I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.